Hi there, I'm Musa and this is Musa Analytics. You are all welcome to once again to beginner series getting started with Microsoft Excel. In our previous class, we talked about in our previous video we talked about the entering and formatting of data. So in this video, we're going to talk about basic functions and formulas in Microsoft Excel. So we're going to look into functions like the basic functions like maximum, minimum, average, and the likes. And we're going to talk about manual and auto sum. Then we're going to move to relative and absolute references in Microsoft Excel. So what's the difference between a functions and a formula? So a formula is an equation that is created manually. It's an equation that you create manually uh, to perform calculation in Microsoft Excel, right? Using the you can use either the plus sign, the minus sign, the multiplication, and the rest. While a function is a predefined formula that it is the predefined formula. It performs a task automatically, and it requires inputs, which is called the argument. So without wasting much time, let's quickly take a look at it. Let's say, for instance, in this cell A1, let's say we have a value 3, and in cell B4, B1 too, we have a value 4. Then in cell C1, we have a value of 2. So let's look at the sum function. So in the Microsoft Excel, whenever you going to whenever you are you are going to whenever you're going to use either a formula or a function, you use the equal sign. So equal to, let's say, sum. Let's call the sum function. Then the next thing is after opening your parenthesis, after your parenthesis, the next thing you are going to supply is your argument. Let's say you want to sum the value in cell A1 to the value in cell C2, and you close your parenthesis. So what you are telling Excel to do is to sum the value from cell A1 to cell C1. Then you click on enter. So it gives you 9, right? That's the sum function. Let's say the minimum. Let's type the minimum function. The minimum function returns the smallest number in a set of values, and it ignores logical values and text. Let's say you are going to find the smallest number in a range of numbers. So let's, from this range A1 to C2, let's find out what's the minimum value. The minimum value is 2, right? Then what of the maximum value? The maximum value, pass the argument. The maximum value is supposed to be what? Supposed to be 4. If you enter, you see the maximum value is 4, the minimum value is 2, while the sum is 9, right? What of the average? Equal to, if you want to find the average of these numbers from cell A1 to cell C1, if you want to find the average, click on enter. So the average is what? The average is 3. So we take a look at the average, the minimum, maximum, and the sum function, right? So let's say, for instance, let's say, for instance, we want to work with the auto sum and also the manual sum. Let's say we have a range of values. Let's say scores. Let's say the scores. Let's just use this light green. Let's say we have a score of 60, the next thing is 70, 50. So if you come here, you just click on, if you come here to the bottom of the numbers, go to your home tab. Here at the editing group, you will see what you see, the auto sum. Just click on it and click on enter. It's going to what? This is the auto sum. It's going to give you the summation of all these values. So let's say for instance you want to use a formula to do this calculation. You want to use a formula. All you need to do is you type your equal sign. Then what you do is click on this cell E2 plus cells E3 plus cell E4. Then you click on enter. It will still give you 180, but which one is more faster? The auto sum is more faster than what? The manual summing, right? Good. That's to tell you that just like I've said in the definition earlier, that a function is a predefined formula that it does a what? It does a task automatically. It performs a task automatically. All it requires is what? Is your input, which we call the argument. So the typing this and this, which one is more faster? I think using the function is more faster than the formula. But one thing about the formula is the flexibility that it gives you. Is the flexibility. So the next thing we are going to look at is this absolute reference and cell reference. Absolute and relative cell references. Absolute and what? Relative cell references. In absolute relative cell references, whenever you copy a formula from one cell to another, it changes, right? It changes, but in absolute references, it's fixed. Whenever you copy a formula from one cell, it's fixed. So let's quickly take a look at that. One example. Let's say this. Let's say these are what scores, right? Or let's say these are maths scores in mathematics, and this one is scores in English. Let's say this one is 50, this one is 60, this one is 40, this one is 80, this one is 90. Okay, so this one is the total. Let's say this is the total score. Let's say this one is the total score. Good. Let's take a look at absolute and relative reference. So we say that in absolute references, whenever you copy it from one cell to another, is fixed, while in relative references, it changes. Let's say this cell is equal to this plus this. Enter. So what you told the cell to do is to add the value in cell E2, which is this, plus the value in cell F2, which is this. So now if you copy this formula downwards, you see, the next one, what it does is it moves to the next line. As you copy it downward, it moves to the next line. In the first line, it adds the value of cell E2 to the value, it adds the value of cell E2 and F2. Then in the next line, it adds the value of E3 and F3 and E4 then and F4. Right? Good. So that's relative references. But in absolute reference, we normally use the word $sign to make it fixed. Right? Let's take a look at it. An example of that. You use a equal sign, then you this plus this. So you use the $sign to lock it. Then click on enter. So it adds what the value in cell E2 and F2, which is 100. If you copy it downwards, it's still going to remain 110, 110. Are you getting it? So that's the difference between what the relative and absolute reference. In relative references, the value changes. It's more flexible, but in absolute reference is fixed. So we normally in a real world scenario, we use the absolute references in a situation whereby you are multiplying a value by a fix. You are multiplying by a fixed value, such as, let's say, a tax rate or an exchange rate, right? Good. So that's the difference between what relative and absolute reference. In absolute reference, you use the dollar sign to lock to the cell, but in relative references, you don't need the dollar sign. So I think with this, we've come to the end of today's lesson. We talk about basic functions and formulas like the sum, the maximum, the minimum, and we talk about auto, manual and auto sum. Then we talk about relative and absolute reference. So in the next video, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about sorting and filtering in data. We're going to talk about what sorting and filtering in data. Sorting and filtering in data. So thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Bye.